All right, hey VC, I'm Jamie. Welcome back. We're back with another video. I've got another stack of wax to show you some recent finds, some recent vinyl finds. Just want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving Day weekend in Canada. Yes, we do celebrate it a little earlier than our friends in the States. They celebrate it at the end of November. I like celebrating Thanksgiving about mid-October or early October. It's just, to me, it's just the right time, just the perfect time in the fall. But certainly with this pandemic, hopefully everybody is doing okay and staying safe as best you can. And in Canada, if you're celebrating Thanksgiving weekend, hopefully you're going to be able to do it safely. So we want to wish you all the best for sure. Okay, so let's take a look at this vinyl finds. These are fairly recent finds. I got a freebie off the top. There was a record seller in this area who was simply giving out free albums, just kind of as a thank you sort of thing. And I picked up this one, the artist Sun Ra, and the album The Magic City. This is a reissue, but this is using the 1973 cover, which is pretty wild. I actually do prefer the original cover. It's a little bit more still stylistic, but quite a lot simpler than this. So this is Sun Ra, the amazing jazz artist, a jazz artist that I have to get into a bit more. I've heard so much about Sun Ra. If you're a Sun Ra fan, please tell me some other albums to explore from this artist. I remember first seeing Sun Ra on an early episode of Saturday Night Live and just couldn't believe what I was watching. Just an incredible jazz fusion artist. And even jazz fusion, I don't think describes his music all that well. So this is an early album from Sun Ra. This was released in 1966. Now it says that it was recorded in 1960, but apparently the sessions were actually from 1965. So this is a reissue, but using a 1973 reissue cover. But even having said that, this is a wild cover. And what's quite nice though with this reissue is that it does include a few bonus tracks, which is quite nice. So really enjoy it. This really kind of captures Sun Ra. But again, I don't know a lot about this artist. This is in a nice lined sleeve, and that was the hype sticker there, just the 180 gram Jazz Classics. But yeah, I hadn't heard it, and when this record seller was giving away some free albums as kind of a thank you, I snatched that one up, and happy I did. So yeah, Sun Ra and The Magic City. But if any Sun Ra fans out there that can tell me where I should get going on more Sun Ra records, please let me know. And I picked this one up just recently. Was really happy. I've seen this so many times. This is the great Count Basie, and this has been issued under a few different titles, like the Atomic Basie. And as I recall, this is one of the at least early or original pressings because it doesn't have the Atomic Basie. I think this was the first album cover, spotlighting it on Roulette label. And so this is E equals MC2 equals Count Basie Orchestra and Neil Hefti arrangements. And this is an absolutely just terrific album, but just that very striking cover. This is a Canadian press on Allied. But this, I was really, really happy to pick up this album and on the great Roulette label. Okay, so Count Basie. One 60s band that I think deserves a lot more props, if you will, is Paul Revere and the Raiders. And you can often find Paul Revere albums fairly cheaply. So this is the album Midnight Ride, Paul Revere and the Raiders featuring Kicks. Again, for some of that sort of psych pop that Paul Revere and the Raiders, they're pretty terrific albums, really enjoyable to listen to. I think the downside with this band was the Paul Revere costumes that they often wore. And interesting in this one, they really downplay the costumes. You almost can't tell except for the hat that's there in the corner. But this one has the great track Kicks, and it also, as I recall, has the Monkees tune, I'm Not Your Stepping Stone. But I think it was Paul Revere that issued that song first, and then the Monkees did a cover of it. I could be wrong on that one, but this is another great Paul Revere and the Raiders album. Really enjoyable to listen to. And this on Columbia 2i. But yeah, I just always thought Paul Revere and the Raiders, they often get kind of dismissed or forgotten about, but I think a great band from the 60s. Okay, pick this one up. This is a Reggae Sunsplash, 81, a tribute to Bob Marley. So this is a double live album. And I remember when this one came out, hearing it and really enjoying it. especially Third World. Do a couple of tracks on here, and this was the first time I heard the Third World track, 1865, 96 Degrees in the Shade. But this also has Rita Marley, Steel Pulse is featured on here, Gregory Isaacs. Well recorded, double live album. And well worth it. Well worth finding this one. And this on the Elektra label. Okay. And moving right along, always happy to find a Traffic album, especially reasonably priced. I picked this one up for $5. I couldn't believe it. Other than kind of a worn, slightly worn cover, it plays great. I couldn't believe my luck on this one. Because sometimes when you're coming across an album, especially, you know, it has the nice, the cut corners. Of course, that was the way it was issued, but and with the sleeve as well. I was pretty happy to come across this one, and on the great Island label. Love that version of the Island label. But yeah, Shootout at the Fantasy Factory, Traffic, another great one. Always happy to pick up Traffic albums. Something a little different. How about Kataro Oasis? I remember when this album came out. Never had a copy of it. Came across it. This was from 1979. And this is such, sort of as the cover conveys, it's very relaxing music. Electronic keyboard, but super relaxing music. And just really, really nice to listen to in the background. This came with the sleeve as well, which I was happy to come across, but Kataro. And on a very straightforward Polydor, orange Polydor label. All right, a little bit more jazz. This one was pretty inexpensive. This was Coleman Hawkins, portrait of Coleman Hawkins with somebody's little autograph there, but this on the Upfront label, distributed through, was distributed by, it says JC Enterprises. So I don't know if this is like a budget label, Upfront label. I've got a feeling this is this has a look like it's part of a series of different jazz artists. I could be wrong on that one, but really enjoy Coleman Hawkins. And this came in a very unusual sleeve. I don't think I'll keep the sleeve with this. I forgot that was in there, but I think I'll have to change that sleeve. But on the Upfront label. So I'm assuming kind of a budget label, but you know, really nice to listen to. Okay, a couple of Canadian content albums. How about this one, Superstar Salute New Massey Hall. And this actually became Roy Thompson Hall. It initially was going to be, or at least the project was going to be the new Massey Hall. So we still have the classic Massey Hall in Toronto, and this is going to be the new building that at first was called New Massey Hall. But then it got changed to Roy Thompson Hall. So this album came out in 1981, and featuring quite a listing of Canadian artists. You got Rough Trade kicking things off, Prism, Streetheart, Rush, Max Webster, Toronto, Loverboy, April Wine, Trooper, BTO, Red Rider, The Good Brothers, Harlequin, and the Minglewood Band. So a lot of the Canadian artist usual suspects there, and just a compilation. It's not a live album or anything like that, but I often come across this one, but finally had a chance to pick this album up. And Superstar Salute New Massey Hall. And another Canadian band. This is one of Randy Bachman's outfits. This is the band Iron Horse, and Everything is Gray. Interesting cover. And there you have Randy Bachman there. And it's interesting when you listen to this. I think the hit off this one was What's Your Hurry, Darling. Iron Horse didn't release too many albums. Again, another sort of post-Guess Who, post-BTO outfit. But when you're listening to this, it doesn't really feel like a Randy Bachman album. Not like with BTO or even with the Guess Who. But still a nice album overall. And on Scotty Brothers label. But to Iron Horse. And this one came out, what was the year for this? 1980. Always enjoy picking up Blondie albums. How about Blondie and Hunter? And this was one of their last albums before they disbanded. And then it would be years later that they got back together. But I've always really enjoyed that cover. I do love that cover. And let's take a look inside. This one came with the sleeve. going on there, and on Chrysalis. Another 80s classic. Finally picked up the Buggles and the Age of Plastic. And of course, Trevor Horn there. And of course, featuring Video Killed the Radio Star. And I've always liked the album version of that, just with the bit of the orchestral part at the end that always gets cut from the single version. But this is still a great album. And it's an amazing how so quickly after this, they both joined up with Yes. But pretty happy to come across this. This one did not include, I think this this does not include the original sleeve, unfortunately, but on Island Records. Okay, a little bit more Canadian content for you. How about Triumph and Just a Game? This is a great Triumph album. This one has the big hit Laid on the Line, which is a great rockin' tune. Of course, Triumph was a power rock trio featuring Rick Emmett, and Hold On is also a great track from this. Certainly one of their great albums from 1979 on Attic, and this whole sort of game idea here, and pretty cool gatefold on this one. Very nice. So yeah, happy to pick this one up. And on Attic Records, as I've said, I've always enjoyed the Attic label, and it's interesting for this that obviously the person that owned this previously was sightless, and so yeah, so it's Braille right on the label there. So, and yes, I think it was just also in the corner here too. You wouldn't almost have noticed it picking it up, but there's a bit of Braille on the corner there. So the previous owner of that. So there you have that. Okay, Delaney and Bonnie. This is D and B Together. This is a terrific album that features a ton of guests, and I don't think even all the guests are properly credited on this album. I do think Eric Clapton, reading about this album, is featured on here, but he's not credited. And gosh, is Duane Allman also on this one, but not credited? This came out in 1972. Only You Know and I Know. Featured on here, and I think this album was originally going to be called Country Life, and then it got reconfigured to D and B Together. But I think at this point these two were not so together as the cover would suggest. But another great Delaney and Bonnie album, and this on Columbia 2i. But yeah, a whole bunch of guest stars on this, but I think so many of them not credited. But Billy Preston's credited on here. Yes, Duane Allman is listed. But I think Eric Clapton is also featured, but not listed. But Bobby Womack, of course, Jim Gordon, whole host of people. Okay, a Journey album, Journey Transition album. This is the album, what is this one called again? This is Journey and Infinity. Yes, that's barely, it just says Journey on there, and it's hard to, and it even just says Journey on the back. It only says Infinity on the spine there, on the worn spine. But this is a nice transition album from early Journey to then the hit-making Journey. And of course, this features the autograph of the previous owner. Thank you, Kathy. Wheel in the Sky is featured on here. But this has Neil Schon, Steve Perry, and then Greg Raleigh still with the band, of course, originally from Santana, along with Neil Schon, and Ainsley Dunsbar still on drums for this. So this is sort of a nice transitional album. I'm assuming this came with some sort of sleeve that this one did not have, and this on Columbia. Okay, a little bit more jazz. Interesting, I've been picking up some jazz albums recently. We've got Oscar Peterson. This is the great Oscar Peterson on Prestige. Terrible condition for the cover, but the album is in lovely shape. It plays quite nicely. But yeah, if I can find any Oscar Peterson, I do have a fair bit of Oscar Peterson on CD, but I don't have a lot on vinyl. Unfortunately, this cover is well worn, but at least it doesn't. At least it's worn there. Like it's not wrecking the photo there or anything like that. So, but yeah, it's not too pleasant to look at there. But again, the album is in great shape. And as they say, you don't play the cover, but on the Prestige stereo. Okay, now here's a blast from the past. How about the Shadows? Dance On with the Shadows. Of course, the group that rose to fame with Cliff Richard now stars in their own right, presented in an album showcasing their fabulous sounds. So this is fabulous instrumental sounds of the Shadows. Sometimes you could argue another group that doesn't really get proper due. But yeah, love the Shadows. And this on the great Capital Rainbow label. And there you go. And should mention, too, that this is a Canadian press, and this is, as I've talked about this many times, this is on the Capital 6000 series. The 6000 series was a Canadian series designed to appeal to the Canadian market, featuring international artists, sort of a selection of international album releases, and a few Canadian artists as well, but called the 6000 series. So this is T's 6052. Very cool. Very cool. I think the Capital 6000 series is really neat. It'd be there's quite a few on there. It'd be quite a dream to own everything on the Canadian Capital 6000 series, because it'd be just an amazing variety of artists. Okay, and speaking of variety of artists, how about Bonnie Raitt? I love Bonnie's pose on the cover of this one. This is a terrific album. There's a few covers on here, but Bonnie Raitt. Again, it's interesting that Bonnie Raitt, you can often find a lot of her albums pretty reasonably priced, but this is a really good one. She does a Jackson Browne tune, My Opening Farewell. It's featured on here. She does a Mark Jordan song, Two Lives. Really nice album. Really nice album. And this on the classic Warner Brothers Palm Tree label. Yeah, I really enjoyed this album. Okay, how about a soundtrack? Let's talk Cat People. Cat People with, of course, featuring David Bowie on here, and featuring the music of Giorgio Moroder. I can never pronounce his name. Giorgio Moroder. There you go. And of course, Natasha Kinski. I'm not doing well with my pronunciations on this album. Natasha Kinski, the actress featured on the cover there, but features David Bowie with the song Cat People Putting Out Fire. But as a soundtrack, this is really enjoyable to listen to. I remember when this movie came out. And this on the Backstreet MCA Records label. Backstreet's back? All right. An EP. I don't often have a lot of EPs or 12-inch singles, but do like this one, Dire Straits, because this is the extended dance EP extended play that features, of course, Twisting by the Pool, which is such a fun song. And at least initially, this was the only place you could find that song, Twisting by the Pool. And some other tracks there. So I was happy to pick this one up on the Vertigo label. Nice stylized there. Okay, Eric Carmen. How about some Eric Carmen? And I've seen this album before, but I hadn't seen this version of it where it's kind of, I don't know, not glossy, but it's got that kind of look to it. I haven't seen it like this before. And this features the classic track, All by Myself. And Eric Carmen, of course, formerly of the Raspberries. It's a really great album, and this features the inner sleeve as well. And this is on, of course, Arista Records. Eric Carmen. Okay, I can't get enough Little Feat. I don't have a lot in my collection. I've got a few CDs, not too much, but I should probably pick up one of those Little Feat, not complete studio albums, but there are a few of those CD box sets for Little Feat. But when I come across any on vinyl, I do try to pick it up. And this is a good one, Little Feat and Let It Roll. Great album. Because I do like that sort of that southern rock kind of sound. And this features the original inner sleeve. And this on Warner. And what year did this come out? This came out in 1988. Okay, Roger Daltrey solo stuff. I've been enjoying Roger Daltrey, some of his solo stuff more and more. At first I used to be quite dismissive of it, but the more I listen to it, the more I've enjoyed it. And I do really like The Who's last album, simply titled Who, and they are releasing now another version of it, sort of a deluxe version that features some live stuff as well. So that should be coming out shortly. I think just on CD. I'm not sure if they're releasing it on vinyl or not, but this is a early Roger Daltrey solo album, and of course featuring his Tommy look there. Quite the striking cover. And kind of a fun gatefold here where his reflection doesn't match what he's doing in the photo. But yeah, another great Roger Daltrey solo album, and on the classic MCA records. And one more. How about John Cougar Mellencamp? And I think at this stage was he, yeah, still John Cougar Mellencamp. This great album that features Paper and Fire. Check It Out, Cherry Bomb. My goodness, hit after hit after hit. And this came out in 1987. Just a terrific album. The Lonesome Jubilee. And this one with the original sleeve. And a nice stylized label there. All right, so that is going to wrap it up for this one. Thank you so much for dropping by. And again, for celebrating in Canada, I do hope everyone has a happy and safe Thanksgiving Day long weekend. And certainly enjoy, and we'll chat again really soon. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.